Well, hello. I'm back again with Glenn Sandking from the Sandkings. And you want to say hello first?
Hello, everyone out
And-
there in TV land
Yeah.
or wherever.
YouTube, this will be on.
YouTube.
Yeah. But I was just going to say before we start, we've done a podcast before, so if you want to listen to that one before listening to this one, what type of stuff were we talking about in that one now?
We were, in the first podcast, we didn't really talk about music. We talked about Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, I think I remember. And to be fair, he done quite well, didn't he? The God. But yeah, check that out. It's only like 12 minutes, and then check this out. It's going to be a bit more in depth and more about the band as well. All right. So, how's things been during lockdown or quarantine, whatever you call it?
It's been challenging for everyone, hasn't it? Really,
Yeah.
you know. But kind of like when lockdown started, it kind of got surreal, and lots of people, musicians, were like putting snippets of stuff they were like singing onto Facebook and stuff like that, and I did that for a while, because it was the only way of communicating with people, really, you know, and letting people know that you were there. But yeah, as soon as kind of like lockdown really kicked in, everybody got used to it and kind of like just got on with it, you know. But I got up to a couple of things, really. I'd been writing my memoirs. I sound like someone at the Times, don't I?
Yeah.
But I'd been writing my memoirs for a while, and so I kind of started doing that again. And then when I started doing that, I started thinking about writing songs again.
Yeah.
And I got to the stage where I thought, yeah, some of these songs are quite good. So I spoke to the others in the band, David and Terry, and said, I'm going to start writing some new Sandking songs, you know, for the first time in 28 years. Not that we're lazy or anything.
Yeah.
28 years later. But yeah, it sounds like a film, that does, doesn't it? But yeah. But anyway, I started writing some songs, and I was kind of pleased with the way they were going, and David and Terry kind of like heard some of the stuff that I did, because I started doing like little 8-track demos of the songs, and they liked it, and so yeah, I mean that's where we are at the moment. We've got an album coming out, probably in November, of anthology of our entire back catalogue, remastered, which is really, it was quite cathartic, that was, because hearing the stuff remastered now as opposed to when it was recorded in 1990, 92, it sounds totally different now, and we're all really pleased with it. It sounds great. So we've got that anthology coming out on Revolver Records, hopefully in November.
Oh, cool.
And like I say, that's our entire back catalogue, remastered. And then off the back of that, we'll see how that goes. And then hopefully next year, the three of us will get together and start knocking these songs together. And hopefully in sometime next year, there'll be brand new Sandking stuff for the first time in a long while, you know. But yeah, we're all really looking forward to it now. You know, at first we were all a bit trepidatious about it. We were thinking, you know, well, will anybody be interested? But a lot of people are interested in it, so we're kind of like thinking, yeah, maybe the time is right to do something a bit different. It's still got the Sandking sound, very much so, but it's the sound that, but it's also got like various influences that have come along that, you know, I've had all the way through my life, really. You know, a very kind of like Neil Young, big influence on me. 13th Floor Elevators, and bands like Teenage Fan Club, who, you know, again in the kind of Neil Young mode, but yeah, but it's still very much the Sandkings. You know, it always will be, because really we don't know any other way of doing things. you know.
I was just going to say, would you say this lockdown was a bit of a blessing in some ways?
It's been very, as I say, I use that word a lot, cathartic, because, you know, it sounds like I've got some intelligence. But it has been quite cathartic, really, you know, to just kind of like reflect on stuff, reflect on what we did and where we could be going, you know, and maybe the time is right. I mean, you know, out of every, you know, I hate to come back to Wolverhampton Wanderers again. Actually, I don't. I love coming back to Wolverhampton Wanderers again. But the saying, like our logo is out of darkness cometh light.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the way I'm thinking about lockdown, because like out of all that darkness, some light will come out of it. You know. But but yeah, you know, yeah. So yeah.
And I feel good. I think for the podcast, for anyone, it's been a blessing because we can just do the stuff we like and enjoy instead of just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know, like I say, it's been a period of reflection for everyone, hasn't it? You know, everybody's kind of reflected on their own lives, and you know, not just on music, but on life in general, really.
Not taking things for granted as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
you know,
pubs getting shut down and that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's much of a loss, but. Yeah, but.
You would say that, I wouldn't.
I don't know, like it's a bit of a loss, like atmosphere. Like I miss the atmosphere of a pub, to be fair.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say,
gigs more than anything, man. Like I don't know one person in my social circle or any social circle that hasn't missed going to gigs. You know, they've really missed it, and the really awful thing is the bands who had like gigs planned for April, May. Had to cancel them, and then they were like, okay, it's going to be November now or October,
next year now.
and it's not going to happen in October, November. It's going to be next year now. I mean, you know,
it's like, well, be like because everyone will have those dates took up anyway for those venues as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those venues might not even be open now because of the financial restraints and everything.
Yeah,
it has been a harrowing time for like anyone in the arts, really. You know, well, not just the arts, anywhere. You know.
So back to your demos. Do you want to say the name of the songs, or do you want to keep it secret? Or
yeah, it's very much on the download at the moment because, like I say, me, David and Terry haven't even got together and played these songs together yet. But like the demos have all been done just by me on a small 8-track recorder kind of thing. But yeah, there's a couple of tunes. Lord Let Me Down Easy, which I'm particularly proud of, and a song called A Matter of Time.
Yeah.
And I'm actually in the studio again tomorrow recording some new stuff. So it's just basically getting us used to the songs, so that when we do come together and rehearse, we'll already know the songs off by heart anyway. Because there's nothing worse than going into a rehearsal studio and not knowing what the fuck you're doing. Basically, you know. So as long as we've all got a kind of semblance of what the songs are about, then everything's cool, and it costs less as well.
Yeah.
You're not rehearsing for 8 hours and coming up with nothing. You know, at least you know what you're doing.
Can we talk about the lyrics of the songs, like "The Lord Let Me Down Easy"? What's like the meaning behind them?
It's a very personal song. Lord Let Me Down Easy is, yeah. I'm not talking about Lord as in
like
the God.
Yeah.
No. I'm just talking about for for heaven's sake, let me down easy.
Yeah.
But it's about my own battles with mental health, really, and I think everybody's battled with mental health through lockdown.
At some point in their life as well.
And this is the thing about the Sandking stuff now, as opposed to when Jazzman was the singer. A lot of the time, his lyrics were about nursery rhymes and rubbish like that, you know. And whereas, like now the songs actually mean something.
Yeah.
That song's about my own personal battle with mental health, and also A Matter of Time is very much a song about I was very influenced by Greta Thunberg and what she was saying about the environment and about the planet and everything, and I just thought, well, unless we do something, it's just a matter of time before it all goes pear-shaped. So, as I say, these songs are a lot more personal than when back in the day when we were singing about cows jumping over the moon and whatever. Idiot.
Back to like you was talking about how Lord Let Me Down Easy. It's about your mental health and that. Would you say music has really helped you a lot, like to get through and like those stages in life?
I think it pretty much does in everyone's life, all the way through their life, from a very, very early age. I was, my first recollection of being on this planet was banging my cup on my little rocking chair to Ichiku Park by the Small Faces. That is genuinely my first memory of being on this planet. Yeah, just loving that song, and all the way through my life, as in anyone's life really, you can define moments in your life by certain pieces of music that you've heard. Yeah. All kinds of stuff. First time I heard the Beatles, very, very much so, as we spoke about in the podcast last time. The first time I heard the Sex Pistols and the Damned, that was it for me. The gloves were off really then. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it really does help you, get through things, and hopefully some of our songs have helped. But I mean, like, a lot of people have said that certain Sandking songs was the kind of soundtrack to part of their life.
Yeah.
Which that means more to me than any record sale. Like someone coming up to you and saying that's like, yeah, I've justified my existence.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's very important, and especially during lockdown. I hope that everyone in bands, some of my favourite bands around at the moment, like Fontaine's DC, and I hope they've still continued to put stuff out, but obviously they've not been able to tour or anything, and like I hope that like this brings back everyone better than ever, and that some good will come out of it. I'm sure it will.
I was gonna say, like songs like that, like it makes you feel like you're not alone as well.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember, You've Got a Friend by James Taylor. That got me through a lot of things. Yeah, that did. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jilted John.
Jilted John. No.
I've been in that situation many times.
Yeah. I think I might give that a bit of play. I think I might give that a play on the podcast.
Yeah.
Try and get a live version. I love that song. I know all the lyrics to that tune, like off by heart. Like
he played at the
No, if you stick it on, I'll just sing it like it's. If I had to do a karaoke song, that would be the song, to be fair.
He played at the Slade Rooms not so long back, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, he played at the Slade Rooms a couple of years ago.
I didn't know that.
He came back as Graham Fellows came back as Jilty John, because he's for years he's done like John Shuttleworth, hasn't he? Which I found hilarious. One of the funniest gigs I've ever been to, John Shuttleworth. But yeah, just any, like, it could be any old song, couldn't it? And like if it connects with you, then it stays with you forever.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
But yeah, I'm going to play Jilty John now.
Yeah, you have my blessing. That was Jilted John by Jilted John. This is Terry Thomas. Ding dong.
Cracking tune. And it was off the album Love Stories, wasn't it?
Yes. That's correct. Yes.
Oh, very nice.
Good God.
Oh. So we was just talking about your. Oh, I mean,
He's
let's go
coming
back.
to Terry Thomas now. Great.
So we were talking
on.
about.
Yeah.
So we were talking about. I'm trying to make this sound quite common as well, like Wolverhampton more than Terry Thomas.
Yeah.
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 But we was just talking about your. I can't stop the accent. You what? I'm recording. Oh, don't mind. But we was just talking about your demos just and we was talking about mental health, like how soft music helps and that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, well, let's talk a bit more about your earlier stuff and how you first came about. Like a bit of history, a bit of a backstory and how it all
the Sandkings.
happened.
Yeah. Well, the Sandkings happened. The original singer of the Sandkings, Andy, who sang on the first single we released, called Rain. Me and him went to school together. We knew each other from the age of 4. So basically, we grew up together, and we started making music together. It was kind of like punk rock that brought us together, really. We started writing songs together, and we were in a punk band called Straw Dogs. We did one great gig supporting Stench in Wolverhampton for all you old Wolverhampton punks. but yeah, and then when that band split up, we kind of didn't do anything for a while, and then we started writing songs together as an acoustic duo. We called ourselves the Poppy Fields. And then we met David, who was the bass player in the Sandkings, and he and his friend were also doing acoustic stuff themselves, and they were called the Sandkings, which is a story by George R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones. And we really liked the name, the Sandkings, and me and Andrew said on one particularly drunken night on a Friday, can we buy the name the Sandkings off you for a pint? And David and Alan said, yeah, you can do it. So we bought the name the Sandkings, and then as we started developing the songs, we thought we need someone else, and so we asked David to kind of like join us, and so that was the nucleus of the Sandkings, really. Me, David, and Andy, and then it kind of grew from there. We thought, right, we need to expand into a band. So David switched to bass. I played guitar, and then we got various drummers in, and then we started playing lots of gigs, and we got a lot of attention, and we eventually got a record deal, and packed our jobs in, and like went full time with it, but things weren't working out with Andy because he wasn't sure whether he wanted to take that kind of like big step, so we parted company with Andy, which was bizarre really, because the week that we parted company with him, our first single came out, and it got single of the week in an ME, which was a bit strange, losing your singer on the week that you get single of the week. But we started auditioning for singers, and one who caught my eye was a guy who I'd played bass on a couple of demos with, a guy named Jazzman, and we asked him if he'd be interested in auditioning, and he did, and it sounded good, so we got him in, and that really was the Sandkings then. Me, Dave, Jazzman, and by this time we'd recruited our long-time drummer, who's still the drummer now, Terry Kirkbride, from Durham, and we kind of like, that was our settled lineup then for 4 years, and then kind of like we released an album. We had another single of the week in the NME, which was good. Very few bands at that time had 2 singles as singles of the week in NME, but yeah, so it was all going well, but then things started to go a bit pear-shaped, with just fractions within the band really, and we ended up in true Sandking style. We split up a week before we were supposed to open up the Glastonbury Festival on the Pyramid stage.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we don't do things by halves in the Sandkings. If you're going to split up, you're going to do it spectacularly well. And that's
Something
what...
you'd be remembered by as well.
Yeah. But fair play, you know, we still got our free passes. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was a particularly good, you know, every cloud has a silver lining and all that business.
Can you recall who else was playing at Glastonbury Festival?
Primal Scream headlined the NME stage.
Yeah.
And the main stage, I think, was Public Enemy or something like that. But we were supposed to like start the whole festival. Like we were the first band on the Pyramid stage.
What class is that, man?
Yeah. Well, it would have been if we hadn't split up. But you know, it wouldn't be the Sandkings if it wasn't just complete and utter tragedy from start to finish. You know,
to me, that's just rock and roll. That is just something really rock and roll about that.
Yeah, maybe, or stupid.
Yeah. On the subject of rock and roll, have you got any great, maybe a bit bad or appropriate rock and roll stories you're allowed to tell us? Or
it would be ridiculous to say that I could, because there's so many. To be quite honest.
I love rock and roll stories on my podcasts.
Oh dear. I suppose the best one, without you know being derogatory to anyone, would have been when we were recording a single, our third single, All's Well with the World.
Oh, yeah.
And the record company said, right, we're going to put you in this really great studio in London, and we're going to get Stephen Street to produce it. You know, who'd done stuff with the Smiths, and we were all big fans of what Stephen Street was doing and stuff. He'd just finished working with one of my mates' bands, the Mighty Lemon Drops, and so we said, yeah, we'd love to do that, and so we went down to London, and we started recording the single. Well, it was a big complex where we were recording, and the studio was upstairs. Downstairs, there was a bar, a lounge, and three massive rehearsal complexes.
Yeah.
And at the time when we were there recording, the three rehearsal rooms were being used by Robert Plant, Public Image Limited, and the Jesus and Mary chain.
Oh.
And so kind of like we'd see them in the bar and stuff, you know, and I think played pool with Jesus and Mary chain a couple of times. But I remember on the Thursday night, we were all sat in the lounge watching the TV, and Robert Plant was in the bar having a drink, and it came on we were watching the news, and it came on the news that on the Saturday, Steve Bull was going to be playing for England, and he was like the first third division player to ever play for England. Yeah. And we were all jumping around the room going, fucking hell, this is amazing. Bully's playing for England. And Robert Plant saw us and came over, and he said, are you lot from Wolverhampton? And we said, yeah, of course we are. And then we just got chatting with him, and we sat down and started having a drink with Robert Plant, and then John Lydon wandered in.
Oh, bloody hell.
And, well, he was like a massive, you know, idol of mine, as was Robert Plant, really, and we ended up spending the whole night just sat at the bar, like drinking with John Lydon and Robert Plant.
That'd be amazing.
With the Jesus and Mary chain playing pool.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was.
What were they like? Were they like just genuine normal guys?
Lovely people. I don't think we mentioned music once.
Really?
Yeah. Because like Lydon's a massive Arsenal fan, and we were just taking the piss out of him all the time, basically, and like, you know, he was taking the mickey out of us, and it was just all about like football and where like Lydon lived in LA then, and you know, it was just, we were just talking about like stuff that really
real life.
like real stuff.
Did you get political at any point?
No, John Lydon.
Really?
Yeah, no, he's not political at all.
Really?
No. He thinks it's all nonsense. You know, he
most of the interviews I see him in, he gets quite political. Like
he does these days. He does, yeah. He's become more and more kind of like right wing since he's been living in LA.
You are?
But
What did you say then?
Depends if it's butter or not.
yeah. You know, I mean, he gets very political about whether it's butter or margarine. You know, but you know.
To be fair, I'll get him on that.
He was perfectly nice, man. He was a really nice guy. Yeah, there's so many rock and roll stories that I could tell you about the Sandkings and stuff that I've done since, really. But we'd be here all night, man. So.
Oh, I don't mind that. Best three, top three.
Well, there's Leyden and Plant. I was in a band called Gravity Wheel after the Sandkings, and that entailed a fight in the dressing room between one of the members of Gravity Wheel and a man dressed as a clown, which was really, really funny. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. And a festival that I played in Istanbul with Bentley Rhythm, Aphex Twin, 808 State, where I didn't think I was going to get out of there alive, to be quite honest. Yeah, we were in a hotel surrounded by armed police because of the shenanigans that we got up to. But that's another story.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get arrested.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's
yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not in Istanbul anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I won't get arrested. But yeah, I've like going back to kind of like lockdown and stuff. You know, just before lockdown, I'd been doing stuff with other groups. I helped a band out called Turning Black Like Lizards. They needed a guitar player for a few gigs where the guitar player couldn't turn up. So so I did some gigs with them. First gigs I'd done for 10 years, and it was really enjoyable. And that's the thing about now. As I'm older now, obviously I'm looking forward to doing the Sandking stuff. But I'm open to anything now. I like, if anyone wants to work with me, I'll work with them.
Yeah.
You know, and do stuff. And Dave's the same. He's working with a band at the moment called Drift Horse, who are really good. And Terry's got his own band called Marbles Jackson. You should check out. They're really, really good. So, you know, we're open to anything now, really. It's kind of like, it's more of a collective now than a band.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're too old to get precious about stuff now. Back in the day, we'd like be snidey and like be, you know, narky about other bands.
Yeah.
Like that. That's not the case now. You know?
I know it's a lot of bands gone out of that rock and roll attitude now. Like, it's all a bit more nicer, but I feel like, I was saying, having a bit of a debate the other day, I feel like, but with the bands that were a bit more rock and roll, they have more headlines, it was in the papers more, so I think in a way it was getting out there a bit more because he was in the paper for doing something rock and roll.
Well, it definitely worked for Oasis, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, give themselves a bit of a name, don't they?
Yeah, but it's funny because like a lot of the bands around about that time, around the 88 to 92 time, you know, and a bit like a little time after, a lot of the bands that I met and hung out with were the most rock and roll people you'd ever meet, but yet they never got in the papers because they were probably too embarrassed the next day or something. Whereas Liam and Noel absolutely loved it, didn't they? You know, so it's like
I think Liam did, but Noel always seemed to be pissed off about it. Yeah, because I remember in one of the interviews, Noel was like, "Oh, go on, tell them what you did then."
Yeah.
But
they played the game to perfection.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and the Stone Roses. You know, I mean, we used to hang out with the Stone Roses and we played like loads of gigs with them, and you couldn't meet more rock and roll people than them, but they never really got into trouble or anything because they didn't particularly broadcast it. You know,
not really. I think the only famous one I know is when they got arrested in Wolves, really.
Yeah, I mean that was just that was a drunken altercation thing where they just, you know, it's funny the guy who they did that to I'm working now with, who's
fucking hell.
putting one of our records out now. You know, so you know, if you're listening, Paul Birch, if you don't do what we say, you know that like we're gonna be down Manda's paints.
But I was just going to say, shall we have a suggested song or?
Well, if there's a suggested song, you mean Sandkings or?
It's up to you. Anything you want.
Yeah.
I always find I always find ways round putting them on anyway.
Yeah. Well, going back to what we were talking about earlier about the way the Sandking sound is now. A lot of people have been like, when they're hearing it, they're saying it sounds a lot more raw and kind of like like a bit more garagey.
I think I said that. Like
yeah, it's a bit more raw and garagey.
The raw sound.
So if there's any one song that really kind of like influenced me that made me think, I want to sound like that, it's You're Gonna Miss Me by the 13th Floor Elevators.
Oh.
Basically, yeah. I think you could play that.
Yeah, I'll get that on now.
Yeah.
Wake up one morning as the sun reaches down. You're gonna wake up one morning as the sun reaches down. You're gonna look around in no time, girl. Gonna find that I'm gone. You didn't realize. You didn't realize. You didn't realize. You didn't realize. Oh, you're gonna miss me, baby. Oh, you're gonna miss me, child. Oh, you're gonna miss me, baby. Yeah, yeah. I gave you the warning. You never heeded it. You say you miss my loving when you never needed it. Yeah. You're gonna wake up with one breath, find yourself all alone. That's not gonna stop me, baby. I'm not coming home. I'm not coming home. I'm not coming home. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna miss me, baby. Yeah, you're gonna miss me, baby. Oh, you're gonna miss me, baby.
So that was You're Gonna Miss Me by the 13th Floor Elevators. What do you think of that song, Glenn?
Well, it's wonderful.
Maybe
That's
one
all I can say.
one of the best tunes ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's possibly the greatest song ever played on a gardening hose and a water bucket.
Mm.
Yeah,
With a jug.
with a jug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, they always in their songs, they always have that sound in the background. What was it?
It was a hose.
Yeah,
it was the hose. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what it was.
And you were saying he was like the better than Bez.
Well,
something
yeah,
like that.
he like, you know, the best person who's ever stood on a stage and done nothing, like, you know, not played an instrument, not done anything, just like
I might try and get
flung a garden hose around.
I might try and get some video footage of him for this specific part.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah.
Everyone should see that.
Yeah,
It's
I
one
never
of the
even knew
greatest
that.
YouTube moments.
That'd be class. That would. So what were we talking about now? We were talking about rock and roll stories and that, weren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Sorry. Yeah. It's just thinking about going back and like all the madness that went on, really. Yeah.
So I was just I don't know if we spoke about it on the last podcast, but you was on like one of these, what they call now, these mixed
Compilations.
yeah. called C90, and so how did that come about?
Basically, Cherry Red Records got in touch with me and asked if they could use one of our tracks on this compilation that they were putting together. It's called C90.
Yeah.
It's kind of pun, really, because C90s used to be cassette tapes, but it's specifically about compilation 90. It's all tracks that were released in 1990.
Yeah.
Predominantly from that kind of like indie rock scene. Bands like Slowdive, Manic Street Preachers, Spacemen 3, lots of Atomic Dustbin, lots of stuff. Another band from Wolverhampton called Penelope's Web, who we used to know back in the day. And they just said, could we use one of your tracks, Earthwheel? Apparently the guy who was putting the album together really it was one of his favourite songs from back then, and he wanted us to be on the album, so he asked us, and we said, well, you can use that, and yeah, I mean, it sold quite well apparently. He's been like giving me regular updates on. Sold quite well in Japan apparently for some reason, but yeah, I mean. But yeah, that was good. I mean, it was good. It was a nice thing to do, really, because it was nice just to get people seeing our name again.
Yeah.
And then
That got the ball rolling for...
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah,
that,
it did.
Yeah.
It definitely got the ball rolling where we thought right about the anthology, and then Revolver approached us and said, "Would you be interested in doing that?" And we said, "Yeah, of course." And then. When that ball started rolling, a friend of mine who was I've known him for years, but he's kind of like a really good producer, and he's worked with people like Tony Visconti, did all the Bowie and Blondie stuff, and he said, if you want me to remaster all of your old Sandking stuff, I'll do that for you. And so he did, and the results were fantastic. He really did a great job on them. So we'll definitely be using him again to do the new stuff. But yeah, it's just kind of like it's very organic. None of this was contrived. None of it. We never, for 1 minute this time last year, thought, right, let's get the Sandkings back together. I mean, it was just
amazing.
It was just organic. It just happened, and then I'm not sure. As I was saying earlier, I'm not sure whether it would have. I'm not sure whether we'd be in the same position now if it hadn't have been for lockdown.
Yeah.
Which kind of like woke us all up really, and just thought, well, why not? Why don't we do this? What's stopping us? And we always knew that. I mean, the Sandkings really, the Sandkings was always me, David and Terry. Jazz was like, he was the front man, and he was a good front man. Yeah. But the essence of the Sandkings was never really anyone else but me, David and Terry. So.
Prior to lockdown, what do you think
I love
was
that band, Paris Angels.
holding you back from doing anything Sandkings related?
We basically nothing was holding us back. It was just personal circumstances, really. For various different reasons.
Thing or...
No, it was nothing to do with pride or anything. It was like I say, it was personal stuff, really. And also the logistics of it, because Terry lives in Hackney, in London. And David, he still lives in Wolverhampton, but he'd been doing his other stuff with Drift Horse, and so we never really thought about it. But then when this anthology thing came along, and people started talking about us, and we heard the songs again, remastered, and we thought, well, why aren't we doing something with this? There's no reason why we couldn't be doing it, and then when I started writing the new songs, kind of like David and Terry said, let's hear them, and I played them, and like within days all three of us had agreed, like, well, yeah, let's do this. You know, let's do something. And to be quite honest, a lot of it is down to the fact that we felt cheated first time round, because the record company weren't really promoting us the way that they should have been. Our manager, you know, was out of his depth, didn't really know what he was doing, and basically the whole thing was just shambolic, really, to be honest. Whereas now we're a lot older, we're a lot wiser, and we know exactly what we're doing and what we want, and you know, and it's more than anything, it's like to prove to people, you know, because a lot of people do say to us, you know, the Sandkings should have been huge, but why weren't you? And we, like, I think for the last 28 years since we split up, all three of us have been saying the same thing to each other.
I see that on YouTube comments, you know, like I see probably someone put on, I forgot what song it was, probably the best band in the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, that
and
was probably
very
me
underrated. But I was just gonna.
Signed off GS.
Yeah, angry of Wolverhampton, but no, I mean, a lot of people do say that, and we just think, well, you know, we could have done a lot more, you know, and I mean, don't get me wrong, now we're not suggesting that we're not gonna move mountains or do anything, you know, but it's just to satisfy our own libido, the fact that, like, we can do something that we're genuinely really proud of, you know, and that to me is more, that to me means more than any kind of, like, record sales or people saying that you're great, you know, and like it just means more the fact that you know that you've actually fulfilled your potential, you know, and reached out to people in a way that you can do nowadays. You never used to be able to, really, because it was all very record company, you know, orientated, and it was there was a set way of doing things. With the advent of social media and the internet and everything else, nowadays, really, it's like if a band, you know, gets taken for a ride, it's their own fault, really, because, like, basically, that you've got all the tools at your disposal to be able to do it yourself, really, you know.
I was just going to say, back to the C90 album, it's in Stay Loose Records. On, is it just one copy you got? One copy, going for 20 quid if you want it.
He had 100 at one point, but 99 of them gone now. So
yeah.
There's a track. What is it on?
What is it called?
Side 3, track 19.
There you go.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's just like told the shop, but never mind.
There's no podcast duration up to date, is it?
Hang on. It's what did you say?
I don't know.
Disc 2.
Somewhere on there.
It was disc 2.
Disc 2.
Track 15.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I swear.
Far off, would we?
Nah, not really. But now, let's get talking about. You said you don't want to give too much away, but let's go give us a little teasers of what might be happening in the future and that.
Well, like I say, things are very much in there. Like, I'm demoing stuff at the moment on my own, really just because of logistics and lockdown and stuff. So, I'm constantly writing songs now, which is, you know, like I say, it's been very cathartic. And basically, once we've got an album's worth of material, then the next step is phase 2, which will be the three of us getting together to rehearse the songs, get to know them really well. And then the step after that will be to go in the studio and start recording new stuff, and hopefully have a new album out by this time next year. You know,
exciting stuff.
Yeah, and we might be doing a couple of gigs, but we haven't even thought about playing live yet. All we're thinking about is just getting stuff down on record.
Showcase at Stay Loose Records.
Yeah. Well, that's like all subject to, like, contractual stuff, and, you know, how much they're going to pay us, really. But but, you know, we didn't put it this way: we don't come cheap.
I thought you could play.
Can of IPA and Carlin, I'll be all right.
Sorted.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you was just saying I have a weird taste, bit of a weird aftertaste.
Yeah. IPA. It's a bit like Oasis. You know, leaves a bit of an aftertaste in my mouth that I don't particularly like.
But I was just gonna say, like, for a showcase in Stylish Records, you could get them playing on the roof.
I like the Beatles. Yeah.
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 It'd be quite
Be like
iconic.
Apple.
That will.
Yeah. I like Apple Records. Satsuma Records. Yeah.
More of a...
Copter's
Stylish
Orange
Records.
Pippin.
More of a kumquat.
Kumquat. Yeah. Kumquat Records.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. That sounds.
Do you know what a kumquat is, Colin?
I think.
Have you ever eaten a kumquat?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's a bitty little thing.
Very
I
bitter.
think you're being a bit. I think I got an idea by the way you're laughing.
No.
Is it a
Have you
trick?
not? Have you never eaten a kumquat?
How is it spelled?
Kumquat.
Cumquat.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Have you ever eaten a kiwi fruit?
Oh yeah.
They're kind of like that, but the kiwi fruits are very sweet, whereas kumquats are very bitter.
Oh, lovely.
Nice name, that.
Yeah.
Kumquat Records.
Yeah, kumquat.
What about
That should be my
Stylish
nickname
Records?
actually, because I'm very bitter most of the time.
I never actually heard of that until now.
If you're listening, by the way, we're having a three-way conversation here between me, Callum, and
Ian.
the
Oh no.
owner and proprietor of the most vile den of iniquity in Wolverhampton.
I just want to say, did you do your homework, Ian?
Homework. When I was at school, never.
No.
Good vibrations.
Good Vibrations homework. Did you watch it? If anyone's watched it.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Good Vibrations, watch Good Vibrations. It's a phenomenal
it's on
film.
YouTube.
No.
It's a great film.
You need to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna
about
send him
Terry
the link.
Hooley, whose Good Vibrations record shop very much mirrors what Ian's doing here at Stay Loose. And he put.
I know you sent my homework, but I think on that night, was that Friday? Friday? I was
Friday,
watching the
something.
Peter Green
Oh, right. Oh, the Peter Green documentary.
Did
Yeah.
you watch it?
Yeah.
He was talking about
Wonderful,
it.
wonderful. Man of the World.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. One of my favourite songs.
I don't really watch TV, so I don't come across any documentaries and that. Like.
Yeah. What are you doing on YouTube then?
What am I doing on YouTube?
If you don't watch TV.
I watch films more than TV.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
suppose
don't go on channels. Like it's one of those things. Like the only thing I watch on telly is South Park, and that's about it.
Right. Okay.
If you ever watched that.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Sandkings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how controversial it was and that.
Yeah.
But
They've made some great films as well. Team America. What a
Yeah.
great film that is.
Oh, I loved that film. To be fair, yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to the subject of the Sandkings, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not really. I think we've pretty much covered all bases, haven't we?
Yeah.
Apart from, our records are still out there, so if you want to go and buy them, because, it's put money in my account. And Lord knows I need it after the lockdown. So, yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, what I usually ask before ending is, do you have any bands that are upcoming or anything like that? Any suggested bands people should listen to?
Well, I always support local stuff, and there is I think it's it's not painfully, it's just painful to see the Wolverhampton music scene just going to the wall. The venues are all closed. There's nothing. Even if there wasn't a lockdown, there's nowhere for any bands to play these days.
Yeah.
And there are some really great artists out there. Alex the Lines of Descent, Lines of Descent's new kind of offshoot band.
Yeah.
Industria, and lots of Methods. Great bands. There are some really great bands in Wolverhampton, but
Loads of them played in
unfortunately,
Stay Loose as well.
they're not getting they're not getting the recognition they deserve. Turning Black like Lizards, who I've played with.
Very hard working bands as well.
Yeah. Turning Black like Lizards are constantly playing. But you know, it's you know, and kind of like in new music stuff, you know, I like a lot of the only new music that I kind of like is like there's some like decent pop acts out there. You know, I'm quite like Dua Lipa. I quite like.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, and I like, you know, also I do like the Fontaines DC. You know,
Oh, yeah. Everyone talks about them, but I never actually got into them. I have to be honest.
Slaves.
That will be album of the year across
Reckon.
a lot of magazines and
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of people like them, but I just never really got into them. If I have to be
Yeah,
honest.
I really
know.
like Slaves.
I love
your
Slaves.
Irish influence.
It doesn't matter if Irish or not. Like, I just never really got into them. I don't know. Like, it's just I don't know. I just don't get that feeling with them. Like, you know, when you get that feeling when you listen to a band, and you just, like the Stooges.
Sexual healing.
Yeah.
When you get that feeling.
Well, I don't know. Like, I need to have a bit of a feeling, like, to get me. I don't know. You know, like, you can't be into every band, can you?
Excuse me, well, can I just take that shovel off you while you're digging that hole even deeper?
Like, everyone loves them, but I just like maybe the only one that's just not into them. I'm not going to say I don't like them, but I'm just not into them. I rate them as a band, but
Yeah, there's a lot of dross out there though.
oh,
Yeah.
I respect all musicians, like respect them all, but some of them I can say I don't like.
Ed Sheeran.
Oh, fucking hate him.
Do you respect him?
He's actually the only musician I don't actually respect, but I respect everyone else. Like, I'll tell you someone
He's
in.
not respect Ed Sheeran. He's not on song. There's no disrespect there.
But I was just gonna say someone I think.
I suppose so, yeah, but
Who-
I
yeah.
think his songs are shit.
Yeah,
so.
very shit. I was just gonna say I don't know if you heard of this bird, but
Heard of this bird?
I respect her a lot, but she does
Can you
really.
say things like bird?
I don't care what.
Yeah.
But
Bint.
basically, she's a brilliant singer, very good, but her music's shite.
Who?
Billie Eilish.
Oh right, Billie
What
Eilish.
a beautiful voice she has, but she ruins it with the music. She's singing. You know, like
Yeah,
she done the next James Bond song.
To
and
be
it's
fair,
all right.
to be fair, I didn't really get into her at all. You know, I saw some of the festivals that she did,
Yeah.
at Glastonbury and stuff, and
that
I
was
never
what
really got
ruined
into
her.
it. Yeah,
But I reckon she would have had potential. Like, I don't know. Well, she's doing
tell
well
you
for herself.
the best band I saw at Glastonbury last year was Fat White Family.
Oh, I
Who I
love
thought
them.
were brilliant.
I love them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really good.
Really good band.
Anyone who's got a song called Marquis Smith, you know, that's they're you know they're good in my eyes.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
The whole thing about him, Fat White Family. Like,
Yeah, it's a great name, isn't it?
American
Yeah,
white
yeah,
scum.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
They might as well call themselves trailer trash. Yeah. Me and Ian just fist pumping there.
oh, I was
That's
just.
a social distance though.
What is it called? Elbow bumping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
elbow bumping.
But I was just gonna say
Elbow bumping in the USA. Great title for an album.
before we end.
I bet Bruce Springsteen would have done that.
Yeah. A group called Fist Pump.
I was just gonna say. Now we're near a finish. Is there anything inspiring you can say to the audience, the listeners?
I'm not really sure. Inspiring or just, you know.
Something that can inspire
Yeah.
listeners to maybe, I don't know, go into creative arts or what.
Be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and lie to others. I think that's
Actually,
my
yeah,
mantra.
Yeah.
Be true to yourself and lie to everyone else. Yeah.
I like that. That's actually maybe the best thing that I've said in the podcast.
Yeah. So that's the title for the second album, I think.
It's really good. Like.
Oh, and Callum's come up with some good lyrics for me.
Yeah, I
by
was
the way.
just gonna say. Yeah. What was it called now? I don't.
Did you write it down?
Shit, I forgot. What was it now? You should know.
Excuse me
don't
while
worry.
I just infect everyone with coronavirus.
What is it called? I don't
Coincidence.
believe in coincidence,
I
but I
don't
believe in God.
coincidence, yeah,
Or
yeah.
believe in the Lord or something like that. Was
In
it?
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be a lyric in
Yes.
any song. But
What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, I was going on about how I don't know. I'm a believer.
You had a godlike experience.
Yeah, God, I had an
God spoke
experience
to you.
with that sort of
Yeah.
thing. It's not like he spoke to me, but spoke to me in a different way, like something happening in life type thing.
Mm.
I'm not going into depth, but
Yeah.
that's how it happens.
I actually released a record once with Gravity Wheel called "Weird Shit Happens," and we sampled a line from a film, and we thought it was a great line for the line was "We are calling God on the Great White Telephone here," and basically that's an analogy for when you're pissed and being sick down a toilet.
I think I put something like that on my Facebook. Didn't
Yeah,
I?
yeah. We are calling God on the Great White Telephone here. Weird shit happens.
Weird shit happens. It's a good.
So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's my tagline basically. Be true to yourself, lie to everyone else, and weird shit happens.
Weird shit
There you
happens.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Anything else?
Well, the last one we done was 15 minutes, so like we went on for almost an hour now.
Yeah.
So a bit more in depth
Yeah.
than that. So
Last time we did though, I hadn't been in the pub and drunk 2 pints in 15 minutes.
but thank you for coming on once again, and maybe join me for another podcast at some point.
Really?
It's
You
up
want
to
to do
you.
another one of these?
Yeah, man.
The Chuckle Brothers.
Goodbye and good night, whatever.
Ding dong.
hello. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Really appreciate you all supporting and all that. And please, if you can, give the podcast a like, and please do subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. We do upload, well, I do upload stuff like this more off a lot. So like, yeah. And sorry for the month delay for people who are like casual, like who listen to Crashing In a lot. Like, it's just been a bit hectic recently with some bands and that. Like, it's just, yeah. But I'll try and get in a bit more of a routine from now. And I just listen, like right now where when I'm talking, like it's like 11 o'clock at night. I just finished editing it. So I've done all the recording and everything in one day, so I can just upload this as soon as possible. But yeah, well, it's uploaded now for you because you won't be listening. But yeah, please like and subscribe. Obviously, stay tuned for Sandking stuff and that. And here's some snippets of their next 2 singles, demos. What, In Matter of Time and Lord, Let Me Down Easy.